Let's have a look at taking the James Brown Coldsweat and turning it into a modern drum and bass version. Okay, the first thing I like to do is get this into a sampler, convert sampler track, use transient markers. Now that's chopped every single hit and it's not perfect. You're going to have to go into the sampler to make sure that each hit is sounding good and each hi-hat and ride is being accounted for on the MIDI file correctly. Once the break's in the sampler, you're going to repattern the MIDI notes and get the rhythm that you're after. And then once you've done that, you're then looking to pitch up the break to get it to sound as natural as possible, running at 174 BPM. Once we have the pattern we're after and the pitch we're after on the break, I then like to split it between the kicks, the hats and the snares. That way I can process each element differently. The top layer here is just the kick, the snares and the hats, including the tom roll. So on the kicks, we're doing some major boosting to try and really warm up the bottom of the kick and just removing any super low rumble. Boosting the top end here just to give it a bit more shine and controlling this large spike here around 125 Hertz. Also, I am compressing 128 Hertz and below and then reboosting the compression, which is just squishing the dynamic and just going to give us a bit more punch. And then the transient designer, which I'm then just reducing the sustain, which is going to highlight more the attack of each kick and just reduce the length of it, which is going to make it feel a bit more pacey and a bit more punchy. Similar process on the snare, but this time we've got a different EQ. We're just removing the low rumble and we're highlighting this area, which is around 4000 Hertz, and just giving that a boost there just to bring out that frequency. Again, we're doing some multiband dynamics and we're compressing 336 Hertz and below. But that's just warming up the bottom end of that snare, just making it feel a little bit bigger. And then again, we're using the transient designer. It's on a slightly different sustain, which means it's not reducing the sustain as much. So the hat / sort of tom layer is low cut here. Sometimes I might cut this higher on the hats, but because the toms are part of that, which is this frequency you can see here, I'm not cutting that much out of the lows. Again, I'm just boosting similar to the kick just to match that, just to bring out the air of the ride. We have the transient designer once again, and this one again is a slightly different sustain to the kick and the snare. You just have to play that by ear, dialing that in. And then this is really just boosting this 110 to 370 Hertz band. It's not really compressing, it's just boosting with a bit of gain. Really that's targeting the tom roll, trying to make that feel a bit bigger. From there we're going to glue everything together by using a bit of compression on this drum bus. Really that's just bringing up some gain. And it will have a little bit of character to this compressor. This tube preamp plugin here is giving us a bit of level boost. It's also boosting by 3 dBs at 10 kilohertz and 1.5 dB at 70 hertz. Again, just more breathy airiness on the rides and a little bit oomph on the kick. The UAD Manly Massive Passive EQ is actually doing quite a bit of heavy lifting. Our AB off and on, so this is off and on. And then to finish, we have the standard clip, and this is doing some soft clip saturation. On the classic setting, this is a reduction in the gain. If I switch this off, 6.8 dB, switch this back on. This is down to 2 dB. Still clipping, not the end of the world if you're clipping a little bit, but it's adding a bit more squishedness without losing the transients, and that's what we're after. We're after enhancing the break without losing some of the punch and the transient. From there, we just wanted a little bit of new school warmth in that kick, which what I mean by that is probably like the 60 Hertz area, and this particular break can bring that. Alongside that, it's got a great snappy snare and a hi-hat, which just layers really well with the Coldsweat. This is what it sounds like in isolation. And with the Coldsweat, and really it's adding this warmth here around the 60 Hertz and a bit more snap and glue from the snare and the hi-hat. Once you've bounced your beat, you've now got a ready-made beat already at the right volume. It's been clipped to 0. with all the punch and weight that you need. You've spent the time on it, and then you can get on creating and writing your next tune. Just like this, the Vanguard project Hot Snow Falls Up, which is out now on Drum and Bass Arena.